welcome everybody to the Star City Blood Bowl League Season 6 Round 4 recap. We're halfway through the season. It's still anybody's match. Actually, anybody in any place could still make enough points should things happen. And that also means that teams that are at the top now need to continue to play well to hold on to the positions that they have. Otherwise, they could see themselves falling out of playoff contention. I'm just kind of diving right in on our first conference here division. We have the MASH leading really all around the league with 19 points. They have won 4 straight games and they have not allowed a touchdown so far this year. They've outscored their opponents by 8 touchdowns and they've outcast them by 3. In second place, we had the Sinister Storm move up 1 spot after their win last night against the Punching Stunties. They also have not allowed a touchdown so far this year with 7 scores for themselves and a net of +7. And then they also have a +2 net casualty at this time. The Punching Stunties still are holding a good third place there with 3 wins and a loss, and they have a +3 net, followed closely behind by the Iron City Grudge Bears at 12 points with a +5 net and a +7 net casualty. And then we have the Valor Valkyries with 2 wins and 2 losses, the Royal Family with 2 wins and a draw and a loss. And this is just one of the examples why it's important to win big when you win. Right? I mean, technically, there's more losses for the Valkyries, but they're identical amount of points because of the way their first win went. And then with the Green Slime Packers, they have a win and 3 losses. The Silver Strikers, the Hushuts Chosen, and the South Lustrian Bullfrogs are all looking for their first win at this point. And the Silver Strikers are currently looking to try and find their way to the end zone, as I think they are the only team in the league right now to not score a touchdown so far. The most surprising thing in this division is the South Lustrian Bullfrogs net and the Silver Strikers actually net casualties. The Silver Strikers are at a -14 and the South Lustrian Bullfrogs are at a -12 right now. So that just goes to show that these two teams in particular have very weak armor against the punchiness of who they face so far and the high armor teams that exist within this division. Going into the next division, we have the Vermintide is looks like safely in first place right now, and it looks like even if they lose, they would remain in first place, barring a very major loss and a very major win from the Stone Cold Stunners in their upcoming matchup. They do have a negative casualty differential, which may end up hurting them in the long run. But they are the only team right now with 4 wins and no losses in that division. The Stone Cold Stunners also are they're in second place. They have 3 wins and a loss with a +3 net touchdown. The Goblins of the Cave Spring Crash are still in third place with 2 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss, and them capturing their first loss so far this week. It's a pack of reptars are in fourth with 2 wins, 2 losses, and they've finally started picking up their play. They've won both of their last 2 games. They are at a -1 net touchdown differential, so they might need to focus on playing a little bit better defense. But they still have a +5 net casualty differential. That's going to help them quite a bit in winning some games. The Hungry Hibernators also won their last 2 games. The Corpsetown Rough Riders have drawed their last 2. The Grim Moor Mallard started off strong and kind of slowly started to taper off as the league goes on. So the team might want to try and look at some upcoming strategies against their opponent's race and just make sure that they are playing, to their strengths and really to their opponent's weaknesses. The Corn Dogs dropped another one this week, but it looked like a very close game. They found the end zone for the 3rd time, and it looks like they are playing better each week as they can try and stay healthy. They do have a -7 net CAS differential, which is the highest in this division. And actually, no one else. Nope. Aside from the Goblins have a negative, but everyone else is pretty much positive. The Rooney Rat Pack got their draw of the year so far this past week, and they have 1 draw and 3 losses, and then followed up by the Shadow Goats, who also have 1 draw and 3 losses in that division. So that is kind of the divisional standings breakdown as we have it right now. We'll go into the honors a little bit. From a team value standpoint, with the Punching Stunties getting back Pig Splatter, that bumped their team value up to about 1410, followed closely by the next Chaos Dwarf team, which is at 1370, Hushut's Chosen. And then the Corn Dogs are surprisingly up there, even with all of their casualties at 1290, followed closely behind by the Reptars and the Grudge Bears. As far as most fame, we have 3 teams right now that are sitting with 6 dedicated fans, which is the highest you can get. It's the MASH, the K-Spring Crash, and the Stone Cold Stunners. Both the Vermintide and the Sinister Storm each have 5 dedicated fans. As far as most experience goes, the MASH have about 50 SPP on top of the next team at this point, and that's mainly due to the presence of Mario LaClaus. But there are many teams, 3 of which returned from last season in the 70s, and a new team is quickly approaching with 61 SPP, and that's Mark Crouch's Iron City Grudge Bears. Most scoring team, we have Skaven up top, which isn't a surprise, but we also have Dwarves in second place with 9 touchdowns scored, which is more of a surprise. For best defense, we have 2 touchdowns. I don't know what that's breaking down. Best defense. I don't know what that's breaking down right now, to be honest. Best defense, 2 touchdowns. What would that mean? Either way, 2 touchdowns. Not sure where that comes from. Most beast, as far as most casualties caused by any team, the royal family have 10, and the punching stunties have also caused 10 casualties between them. A couple teams follow behind with 9. And then most injured, there's 2 teams that really lead this pack, but not far behind, we have the Corn Dogs. So the Bullfrogs have 12 injuries, the Silver Strikers have 11. And then as far as most deadly, this is the most deaths received. The Rooney Rat Pack, or I'm sorry, most deaths delivered, not received. The Rooney Rat Pack have killed 2 players, the Royal Family have killed 2, and the Punching Stunties have also killed 2. And then looking at completions right now, the Rooney Rat Pack have thrown 5 completions, and the Silver Strikers close behind with 4. Now going over to the player standings, we have Mario LaClaus leading a number of categories, including the Patrick Mahomes Award for his value at 225K. He's also the most experienced player this season, acquiring 25 SPP, followed closely behind by Seraph Backbreak at 24, Scatter with 21, and 2 of the Iron City Grudge Bear runners who have kind of divvied some SPP up between them. Mario LaClaus and Scatter both lead the league in best offense with 7 touchdowns scored each. This week, none of the top leaders from previously for most casualties caused collected any casualties, and that was Thorgrim, Krungo, and T-Bone. But Ulf Stitchinson kind of came into play as he collected
And
up a
now
casualty
here's
in
a
his
word from
last
our
match.
sponsor.
As far as most injured, there's 2 players who have been injured 3 times so far in 4 games. That's Florent Paris and Cragged. And then MVPs, Seraph Backbreak has gotten the MVP 3 times in the 4 games. And then most completions, they all kind of go to Sir Radigan with 5 or Vincent with 4. So that's what we have so far. Now looking at let's look at the fixtures upcoming. We could talk a little bit about each of these games. So that we have the Grudge Bears against the Green Slime Packers in some mountainous weather as the Iron City Grudge Bears host the Nurgle team. The Grudge Bears are a very developed team at this point, I think, pretty optimally so far for the way that You want dwarves to go. There's a couple randoms that were rolled on each of the runners, which are a little, um, or at least one random in particular, which aren't probably what I would choose in really either case, but it's working for Mark right now. There are a couple guards which help give them a little extra strength. Um, but the main thing is that in this upcoming matchup, the grudge bears are going to have to be really particular about where they put players in order to not get outstrengthed by the green slime packers. The green slime packers, they're going to want to use their tentacles to hold the dwarves in place, slow down their cage, and then just use Typhicus slot pup's claws and block to start knocking down dwarves, hope to get some armor breaks and remove some players off the field. Um, their rotters are going to be pretty fragile, probably going to get taken out pretty quick. So I would expect the green slime packers to be playing down players pretty quickly. But if you can get an advantage over the grudge bears, then they would be able to maybe give them a little bit of a struggle in their match. And so I'm going to guess this one is going to be 2-0 with the grudge bears taking the victory there. The Valor Valkyries against the Punching Stunties. The Punching Stunties have come back healthy since their last match, getting Pig Splatter back. He does have an Ingling injury, so that will be taken into account if he gets hurt again. But the team is also developed as well, picking up their second guard player, having multiple blocks. They are sitting in a good spot right now. They're at 1410 versus the Valor Valkyries 1170. So the Valor Valkyries are going to get about 240k of inducements, which is enough probably for a pretty great star player. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're going to get, no, they're going to lose 50 to a thing. So they're probably somewhere in a mediocre middle of the road star player, wizard, something they could pick up. Helga the Jotun is still got Claw's Mighty Blow. That's going to be something that could run through a little bit of the dwarf armor if they're able to knock some folks down. Seraph Backbreak is going to be very difficult to knock down, but with the tackle of the stunties, if they can get a hold of him, then they probably can knock him down. And then there's a random armbar. So this one is going to be a very difficult one for the Valkyries. They're very outskilled. And I think in a way they're going to struggle quite a bit. The downside of the stunties is they are a slower team, but I'm going to give this one to the stunties. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-0 with the stunties taking the victory in this one. So next up, the Royal Family against the Silver Strikers. So the Royal Family are a developed Lizardman team, which are missing one source blocker in the upcoming match. They have 2 block, 1 guard, 1 mighty blow, Saurus blocker, and a guard Croxagore. So this team is going to be very bashy. One of the things you'll realize is that their agility is very poor. So if you want to try and get around some Saurus, all you have to do is mark them up and then make them take some 5+ dodges, which they probably are not going to pass. And then they have a number of skinks here that will be obviously running the ball. But if you can target these 4 skinks, take them out, these Saurus probably aren't picking the ball up on 5+. And that's one way to beat Lizardmen. With the Silver Strikers are a very stymie-like team, right? They have Stand Firm, they have Wrestle, they have Fend. There's a number of skills that keep your cage from moving. And so, if I was Shad, I would be really conscious about where I put Odair to maximize the use of his guard and maximize 2-die blocks against those Saurus. Try and knock down what you can or wrestle them down, because once they're up, they can move a little bit, but they're not moving quite to the level that they can catch up to cages and things like that. And so it's going to be very difficult. You have to be really conscious about when you fend, when you stand firm. But having that cage stall out and those skinks get desperate to run ahead of the Saurus is really what you want to happen. For the royal family, they just need to just beat on them pretty much. And that would solve most of what's going on there. That game right there, I'm going to guess this one's going to go 1-0 with the royal family taking the win here. So the South Lustrian Bullfrogs against Hashut's Chosen. This is going to be another tough match for the Bullfrogs. Hashut's Chosen is a 3 guard. It's got Mighty Blow. There is Thrackbull on this team, which is a sure hands block break tackle, Bull Centaur, and then there's also an enslaved Minotaur. And the South Lustrian Bullfrogs are down to about 1070, or I'm sorry, 1040. Team value, and so they're going to be able to induce a pretty decent star if they wanted to. What do they have here? Where's their inducements? Right there. I'm trying to think what would be worth taking. I like Grombrindle quite a bit, but that might be kind of difficult to play. Mighty Zug to get a second block Mighty Blow Ogre isn't bad. Um, or better yet, maybe just passing on that and taking a Wandering Apothecary to get past this match to a degree. They've got a skilled up blitzer. Their Croxagor's unskilled. They don't really have any remarkable skills at this point. I guess Sartre with the sidestep jump up is about the best player they have. They do have a lineman with strip ball, but I think Thrackbull has sure hands, so that's probably going to cancel out the effects there. With this game here, I'm going to guess that this one is going to go 2-0 with the Hashut's Chosen winning that one. Next up is the number 1 and 2 teams in that conference, Group A conference, the Mill Mountain Division facing off, which is the Sinister Storm against the MASH. So my Sinister Storm are currently mostly healthy. I do have a lineman missing next game, which isn't a big deal. But, I have a lot of blodge. There is a wrestle player here and a block dodge witch, of course, which kind of are the anchors of my team. And then for the MASH, they have a very deep bench as far as linemen go of zombies, but they're very slow. And then the flesh golems and zombies on this side are also very slow. So there's only 2 ball carriers available for the MASH as we speak right now. Evgeny Stalkin and Mario Laclaus are the only 2 players that can actually pick up the ball. So me as a player, I'm going to be looking to focus to hurt them, to remove them from the field, and then forcing them to run the ball with like a zombie or something like that. Um, and then it looks like there will be a couple players on the MASH that will skill up, and that will put our team values pretty much even, I think, or pretty close to even, where I don't think anyone's going to get any inducements for this match. And so Yasamir Yager, the werewolf, the rookie werewolf for the MASH, is also missing that game. And so that will be maybe a little bit of hurt to the MASH's offense as well. So this match here, it's going to be taking place in winter. The winter weather, I'm trying to think if that would have an effect. It's pretty brutal, but I'm going to say that this one's going to go 2 touchdowns to 1 with the Sinister Storm winning this one, mainly because I just don't think the MASH have the speed to keep up with the Dark Elves, nor do they have the offensive options to really get bogged down. I mean, if the Sinister Storm can bog down these few players, then it's going to be very difficult for the MASH to get in the end zone. Now, moving into the next division, we have the Cave Spring Crash against the Corn Dogs. So the Cave Spring Crash had a really rough game last time where they lost. Blambo is probably going to get fired, I'm guessing. He got minus strength. And then, let's see, the Loonies in there. The good thing is the Cave Spring Crash are at a point where their team value, let's see, yeah, it's starting to get to where they can get some pretty good stars. They're going to start to be able to take Hackflim and Varog or Morg or something like that that's just a monster on the field to terrorize people with, which is, I'm sure, what Alex wanted all along. They're finally at that point where the team value differences are substantial enough that they can start to do those things. Eddie's corn dogs, very unskilled, very fresh. They do have the blood spawn, which may be a problem for some of the trolls on the field. Um, Still lots of frenzy, not a lot to go with it. Um, I actually think that this one might go to the crash, as much as it's always never a good idea to pick stunties a lot of times, but I think between the secret weapons, the two trolls, and then any star players or bribes and things they have to keep those folks on the field, it's going to be very difficult for the crash um, to lose this one, I think, unless they just get some bad armor breaks from the frenzy hits. So I'm going to go with this one's going to go 1-0 with the Cave Spring Crash winning this one. It's going to be close, though. Could be anybody's. The Corpsetown Rough Riders and the Hungry Hibernators. That match right there, let's see. The Corpsetown Rough Riders, Kajel's Stitchinson, the Frenzy Flesh Golem was hurt with a Ningling injury. Two Dodge Surehands players, a Guard Wraith, pair of Surehands. So pretty rookie-like team for the Rough Riders against the Hungry Hibernators, which don't have a lot of skills either, but they do have a Claws, Mighty Blow, and a Nook. That doesn't really hurt them that much. I'm not worried about that. But they do have Jean Delowers, and I think Jean Delowers will shine in this one and come away with a 2-0 victory of the Hungry Hibernators over the Rough Riders. The Grimmore Mallard and the Stone Cold Stunners face off. This will be another bash on bash match that may be difficult for the Stunners. Let's see here. What do we got? We got two guard mummies with two mighty blows, which could come in handy. And then there is a block ghoul. Everybody else is relatively unskilled. They are going to be missing one ghoul who got two Ningling injuries, or maybe this was his second. Two Ningling injuries. And 1160 against 1245. So there will be some inducements for the Mauler gas, but I think that the two blocks, the sure hands tackle, the tackle could harass some ghouls for sure. The horns are going to be tough to control, and so as long as those mummies don't run through the Stone Cold Stunners, I think the Stone Cold Stunners are in a good position to win this one. I'm going to go with 2-1 for this game right here. And then second to last here, we have Skaven on Skaven action, the Rooney Rat Pack against the Vermintide. The Rat Pack are pretty beat up right now. They're missing their kick lineman and another lineman, Kreger. They still have Sir Radigan. They still have 4 gutter runners, and they have a Rat Ogre. And that's going to be really the difference, I think, between them and the Vermintide, is the Vermintide run some very skilled gutter runners, but they don't have a Rat Ogre at this point. And let's see here. I think the Vermintide do have more rerolls. They are running 4 rerolls. And the Vermintide rely really heavily on Scatter, which is a blodge sidestepping gutter runner. So taking out Scatter really hurts their offensive potential. And then let's see, Gristletooth, also the block mighty blow tackle. Blitzer will be coming after, I'm sure, the gutter runners on the Rat Pack. So, a couple players to look out for, but it looks like the Rat Pack's actually in a better position to potentially win this one. But we will see how it ends up going. I'm going to say that this one's going to be a shocking draw, and I think it's going to be 2-2 is what I'm going to say. I'm just going to be 2-2. They're both going to get in there a couple times, but can't stop each other. And then lastly, we have the Shadow Goats against the Reptars. The Shadow Goats have been slowly building up some momentum. They did have a couple players get hurt last game, which they were playing down on. But I think they're getting better as time goes on. They do have some money in the bank, maybe to buy maybe I would buy one more beastman just to have a 12th player, so you're not playing down, so you have a reserve. Or does he have 4 chaos blockers? He does. Yeah, so I would grab one more beastman probably just to make my 12th player. And then the reptars are finally getting a few skills. They have a couple block Saurus. They are down a skink, hot dog con queso. Um, with the leaping skink is out for the game, I'm gonna guess you probably got to hurt a leaping. Um, it's hard to say. And then it's a pretty close one, really. I mean, I'm gonna say this one's gonna be a 1-1 draw, is what I'm gonna guess here. 1-1 draw in the summer weather. So that really does it for this week's matchups. It's still anybody's game. Like I said, this is round 5. One last announcement: we are kind of selling Star City Blood Bowl League dice. They are $5 for 2. They go to support the league. Actually, they support a lot of the dues that we pay for tour play, which are about $15 a month, and then also help us support providing food for the end of the season cookout, which will take place probably in June. At some point, May or June. I think that's when the playoffs and the championship will be close to wrapping up. That's usually when we try and have it. And people can show up, play games, eat some food. It'll be summertime, so hopefully nice weather. And we'll get to all hang out outside, enjoy some sun, and go from there. So, um, a couple things about Big Lick Brawl if you're attending. I know a lot of you are. I'll look to call for rosters at near the end of this month. So just be thinking about what your roster wants to be. If you want to get any practice games for Big Lick, please start posting them up because there are a number of coaches that are going to be looking to get practice games in, especially after March 12th, which is Beanstalk Bowl ends. Then I think people are going to shift gears to Big Lick pretty heavily and start practicing their team builds to get it in there. I did run a dummy tournament using a new program called XScore, which seemed to work really well, and so I'm really excited to use it. And it does a really cool job of matching teams up and things like that. So I'm pretty excited to use it for the first time. And I've been practicing with it to make sure I don't have any issues on the day. Um, our venue is in Christiansburg, Virginia, which is about 30 minutes away. I am sorry to anybody who, is upset by that. We tried to find some locations here, but they were either too expensive. I mean, most of them exceeded well over $1,000 to host the event, and then the cheaper places we did find ended up telling us very late in the game that they were not available after the fact. And so we just kind of had to scramble a little bit. The fellowship hall at Faith Missionary Church, Baptist Church in Christiansburg is a very nice place. It's my parents' church, and so I know that it's I've been in that fellowship hall. I don't know how many times, but it's a very big open area. They have a basketball court in there, so it's you can think like that. It's very well lit, lots of tables, lots of space, so it'll be a good time still. All right, that's kind of it. Everybody have a good weekend. Have a good round 5. And I will look forward to seeing the outcomes of all of these games and watching them through tour play updates on the Discord. Everybody have a good rest of the week, and I will talk to you in a couple weeks. Have a good one.